When humanity thinks of a weapon of mass destruction, we imagine the blinding flash of a nuclear warhead, the suffocating terror of a chemical gas cloud. We are conditioned to the fear of loud, the explosive, and the instant. But what if the most perfect weapon ever didn't look like a weapon at all? What if the apocalypse didn't arrive on the hypersonic missile, but on 6 legs? To understand the weapon, you must first understand the dream. The goal was immortality, or at very least, radical life extension. A rogue faction of bioengineers hypothesized that human aging wasn't an inevitable decay, but a programmable error in our DNA that could be overwritten. They didn't want to use pills or painful injections. They wanted a localized, self-sustaining biological delivery system. The solution was an engineered insect, specifically a biomechanically altered beetle, acting as a carrier. The biology behind this was staggering. The scientists introduced a highly specific synthetic symbiosis into a beetle, a genetically modified bacteria, coupled with a highly aggressive fungal strain. When the beetle naturally reached the end of its life cycle, it died, but it didn't decompose. The fungal symbiont immediately triggered, hijacking the beetle's chitinous exoskeleton and turning the corpse into a microscopic bioreactor, a literal dead factory. If you were to examine the morphology of this specific carrier, a heavily mutated scarab species, you would see the terrifying physical toll of this biological hacking. As the reaction builds inside the deceased host, the beetle's cell takes an unnatural, luminous green sheen. The internal pressure of growing fungal bacterial mass mounts until the dorsal carapace violently ruptures, leaving a massive jagged crater blown straight through its back. This gaping void becomes the exhaust port for the nightmare inside. Inside this dead factory, the bacteria fed on fungus, synthesizing an entirely new complex compound. They designated this compound B091. This compound was highly volatile, meaning it instantly vaporized, mixing invisibly with ambient air. When inhaled by humans, this aerosolized compound crossed the blood-brain barrier with terrifying efficiency. It acted as a neurochemical trigger, firing precise signals from brain to the rest of body, demanding cellular regeneration at the deepest DNA level. It artificially extended telomeres, told your body to stop dying and start rebuilding. For a brief signing moment, the project was a total success. But biology is notoriously unforgiving. When you force nature to rewrite its fundamental laws, nature fights back. And the side effect they discovered didn't just ruin the experiment, it doomed the human race. The true horror of this biological weapon is its incubation period. This compound operates on a horrifyingly delayed timeline. For the first 6 months of exposure, you don't feel sick. In fact, you feel extraordinary. The DNA regeneration works. Minor aches and pains disappear. Skin regains its elasticity. Chronic illness seems to magically vanish. The population feels healthier than they have in a decade. It is a 6-month biological mirage. But as the 7th month begins, the mirage shatters. The forced cellular regeneration exhausts the body's natural genetic safety. The compound doesn't just halt aging, it eventually causes a total catastrophic cellular mistranslation. Without warning, the side effects kick in. Random severe cascading organ failures. A perfectly healthy liver will fail in a matter of hours. Lungs will simply lose their structural integrity. Kidneys will shut down immediately. And if, by some medical miracle, an individual survives the organ failure, they are met with secondary effect. The biological restructuring completely and irreversibly annihilates the reproductive system of both men and women. Total permanent infertility. Even if a fraction of population survives, there will be no next generation. Humanity simply ages out and ends. You might think, just stay away from the air where the beetle died. If only it were that simple. The creators soon realized that this aerosolized compound had a devastating affinity for something else, something that makes escaping it mathematically impossible. The airborne compound is itself relatively fragile in open air. It shouldn't travel far, but the bioengineers missed a fatal chemical reaction. The synthesized vapor acts as a perfect binding agent to the cellular structure of base crops, specifically paddy, wheat, and corn. When the airborne compound settles on these crops, it bonds with the plant's biology, mutating into a highly concentrated substance that they call DNA breaker. The crops don't die, they look healthy, they grow perfectly, but they are now biological sponges holding a microscopic time bomb. This means the weapon doesn't spread through coughing or sneezing. It spreads through the global food supply chain. It is harvested, milled, baked, and shipped to every grocery store, restaurant, and pantry on the planet. And the scale of this infection is the stuff of nightmares. Remember the dead factory inside the beetle's corpse? A single deceased beetle undergoing the specific fungal and bacterial reactions can produce enough aerosolized compound in just 48 hours to fully infect and mutate crops within 40 kilometers of radius. Let that sink in. One dead bug, 40 kilometers of infected food supply.